Hello guys, welcome back to Niche Reads. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of creative journaling in my Hobonichi Cousin. So you'll see here I have a lot of blues and teals going on. Essentially, I saw Good Postage on TikTok. They are a stationery store in one of the Carolinas. I can't remember which one, but they share a lot of their friends and families journals on their channel, which is really fun to see. Friends and family and employees. And one of them shared this very monochromatic thing she's been doing with her cousin. So I wanted to replicate that. So here I am. I came up with this idea for a Easter spread. My kids' school was having an Easter egg hunt, and so I kind of wanted to journal about that. But I knew that since I'd be sharing this online, I didn't want to put any like personal information. So yeah, I just did this little newspaper spread and then wrote up a fake little article about an egg hunt, and I just had a lot of fun with this, and I can't wait to get more creative with it. I think it's really cool and such a fun idea to limit yourself to only two or three colors and see what you can make with that. And then on top of that, I just think the little newspaper clipping is just so adorable, and I really admire that other person for being so consistent in their Hobonichi. I think thus far their entire 2025 cousin is all blue, which is just awesome. um, but now basically I'm just backfilling. I've missed a lot of days, so I wanted to print out some like coffee shop related stuff because essentially I've seen a lot of people do manifestation journaling. And so I think it's a really cool idea to basically write a journal entry as if you're in the future. So in this, fake made up scenario, it's 2 years from now, and I'm getting ready to host a book club in my city with people from all over. And I was inspired by NYC Book Ho. She's made it her job to host book clubs all over New York. And wow, what a cool job to just be building community and reading all the time. And who knows if that's something I actually want to pursue, but it's just a cool thing to dream about and think about. And I wanted to journal about it. And I've been printing off these clear stickers with just on I have an Epson EcoTank printer, and then a lot of these images are just from Canva, but I've been printing them on clear sticker paper because I love the way it looks when you can see your writing and other drawings still peeking through the images. I think it just looks so cool, especially with these coffee splotches that you'll see here in just a minute. Yeah, it's just really fun and brings me a lot of joy. I'm writing this entry in my TWSBI Eco pen in a medium nib. I bought this off eBay used, and it was listed as a fine nib, and then it came and it was way chunkier than any of the TWSBIs I own, and I looked up really close at the nib, and sure enough, it's a medium nib. But I have it inked up with the Pilot iroshizuku, the brown ink. The name is escaping me, but I'll put it in the description. But the brown is just absolutely beautiful. I love it so much. So yeah, I just think it's really fun that you can still see everything that you wrote peeking through the clear stickers. And the clear also feels a little bit, I don't know if this is actually true, but it feels a little bit thinner than the normal matte paper sticker, so it doesn't bulk up the journal quite as much. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's wrong, but I also like that you don't have to be super particular about cutting out the edges because they just blend in with the paper. So for someone like me who doesn't always have the most patience or attention to detail sometimes, it's just very forgiving, and I've been having fun. I also have joined a Patreon for Sophie Anzari. She does these digital download packs each month of like a curated set of images that she either scans in. Actually, no, I think they're all scans, so just kind of fun. I've saved a lot of them, and I've not in this spread, but I've printed off a lot of those scans to use in my journal, and it's just really fun to take some inspiration from stuff like that and incorporate it into my journal. And there she is. I think she came out super cute, and I think I'm going to test out this manifestation journal format a little bit more in the future because I think it's a really creative and neat idea, and it's a good way to sort of get your thoughts out on a page and see if what you're dreaming about is actually something you want. If you can kind of picture it in a more specific way, is it actually something that you want to achieve? Or maybe thinking about it in that level of detail, you find out that actually, no, that doesn't feel like it's something that you want. I don't know. So I had one last sticker, and this is not a spread that I ended up really loving, but I wanted to just go ahead and use this sticker. And so the only idea I came up with on the fly was to just do an April reading update so far with the books I've read up until this point. So I pulled up my story graph and I looked through the books I'd read, I think through the 13th, and I started just filling in the spines because I also wanted to see if this paper, if it got along well with the Tombow brush markers, and it did. It worked out really nicely. So you'll see here, I'm going to start coloring in the spines in a second, and I didn't notice any sort of smearing or anything like that. It dried down pretty quickly, so that was nice. I put Kate Canterbury's In a Rush here on the thickest spine because this romance novel, this contemporary romance novel, was 477 pages. Now, I will say, Kate Canterbury's writing is very, very little, so I didn't really notice how long it was until after the fact. So I think that's a credit to her writing. Her writing is really funny and creative. Her characters are really lovable, and they go through really real scenarios. And when there's conflict in the relationship, it feels very believable. And I think because she put so much time into developing her characters, it naturally makes the book longer. And I don't think you necessarily need the length to make your characters deep. I mean, that's kind of one of the main hurdles of learning to become a writer is how do you communicate effectively so you don't have to have this really long book. But I definitely don't feel like she's someone who wastes space. The plot wasn't meandering, it didn't drag. It's very slice of life. You're going through life with these people, and I think for some people it probably could feel a bit boring, but again, like I said, since I really like her writing, it doesn't really bother me. But it did just make me laugh when I finished it and realized, yeah, it was almost 500 pages for a dang contemporary romance novel. Going in the complete opposite direction of that, I just finished Just Mercy by Bryan Stevenson, and wow, this was such an important read. Definitely would recommend. It's nonfiction, discusses capital punishment and the death penalty in America in such a nuanced and kind and compassionate way. I think if any of us could take a lesson from Bryan Stevenson, it's that we all need to be more merciful and we all need to be kinder to one another and just give ourselves a chance to imagine a world in which we are kinder to one another and what that could do. And also, as a society, what right do we have to kill others? Truly, I mean, it's one thing to set out a system of laws and have a criminal justice system, but in he argues that to have a death penalty is in essence hypocritical to the punishment of those who take the lives of others. So, really good read. Would highly recommend. Pick it up. I read from my local library. I do a lot of reading through Libby. The little plug. Download it, get a library card. If you can't get to one locally, look online. There are tons of library branches that do not require you to prove where you live. So I've seen people in America get library cards like in Australia. So check it out and use it. I think it's a invaluable resource for reading more and also just supporting libraries. Oh yeah, I tested out colored pencils on this sticker paper and it also worked, so that was nice to know. But yeah, the more I looked at this, the more I was like, meh, I didn't really love it, but wanted to use the sticker, wanted to test out this paper and see how it performed. So I guess for that task alone, this was a win. Then I just took a minute here to journal a little bit about each book and how I was feeling about my reading and how I was feeling about the month. Um, which was nice. It was nice to kind of reflect. If you've seen my reading journal, I'm using a Hobonichi Weeks, and so there's not a lot of room in it to reflect about the books, which is fine because I post reviews on Storygraph and Goodreads and sometimes Fable, kind of deciding where I want to live, but I think for the most part, I'm pretty happy with Storygraph. But I also post on Blue Sky some reviews about books, and so I don't feel the need to have these long form entries about book, but it was kind of nice to sit and reflect a little bit in a long form way about how my reading was going for the month. So maybe I'll do this every once in a while. I think for me, I just like not having the pressure of needing to fill out a page a day. At the very beginning of the year, I thought I wanted to dedicate an entire journal to my 5-star reads where I would make a full page spread for every 5-star read. And I immediately fell behind because I think I wanted to start off the journal by doing my top 5-star reads from 2024, and I couldn't even bring myself to do that. It was just too big of a task. It felt overwhelming. So I immediately pivoted and decided I didn't want to do that, and just gave myself the freedom to, if I felt passionate enough about the book to make a dedicated journal entry, then I would. If you saw in one of my other videos, I did an entire two-page spread dedicated to Our Infinite Fates. Love that. I could definitely see myself doing that for other books in the future, but I don't like the pressure of having to do it for every single one I read. And so that's why I think the weeks really is perfect for me for tracking my reading. But yeah, don't really normally write long form about my reading, so this is kind of fun. This is a TWSBI Eco Extra Fine nib, inked up with the Pilot iroshizuku. It's a light gray, like medium gray toned ink. Again, I'll list it in the description because I can't remember the exact name of it, but I got a sample of this and I really like it. I think I would like to see it in a slightly thicker nib. I think that would help because there's times when it's not the most readable because it is a little bit lighter, but I still really like the color and it's a fun neutral tone to have in the rotation. Do you guys backfill in your journals? Do you abandon pages? How does that go for you guys? One of the things I was the most nervous about getting into a dated journal for this year was the guilt of missing pages. And I think what I'm really trying to allow myself the freedom to miss pages in my cousin because I'm not holding myself to using it every single day, but I am holding myself to filling it out 100%. And so I want this to just be creative. I want this to be fun. And not something that feels restrictive or like pressure. At the beginning of the year, I tried to use the cousin pages for like to-do lists and life journaling and daily reflection, and that was just too much. And so I think going into the second quarter of the year, I really want to focus on making this a creative outlet and see how that feels. But yeah, I would love to hear how you guys use your journals and if you feel the same kind of pressure with that. But yeah, there's that. Like I said, didn't love it, but it was fun for what it was, and um, again, mainly was just testing out that sticker paper. But anyways, thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye, guys!